Word up! Today we're going to talk about this sexy ass looking Altec mixer amplifier. I get asked by some people, where in the world do I find the gear that I use in these videos and in my recording studio? And really the short answer is I am just patient and I just look for stuff locally most of the time. I kind of stopped buying stuff from eBay and other online sources just because the prices are so inflated. Now this puppy right here I got at a local swap meet. It was actually a guitar show held in a church, and the guy who was selling them was actually selling two of them, and he would not part with just one, and no matter how much I haggled with him, he would not budge. Eventually some other random jabronis walking by hears me talking about it and says, hey, I'll buy the other one, you buy this one, and we offered the guy $75 each for each of them, so I ended up paying $75 for this unit. And I really wanted this unit for a couple of reasons. One, it just looks damn cool. That hunter green color, I'm really digging. Two, I don't own any piece of Altec gear, and I just kind of wanted to. And three, and most importantly, the thing that stuck out the most when I saw this thing sitting there was the built-in compressor. If it wasn't for the built-in compressor, I don't think I would have actually bought this unit. You know, I have enough solid-state kind of microphone preamplifiers that I use as color boxes. This one's pretty bulky as is, and I really don't have the room for it in my little recording studio, but like I said, I saw a built-in compressor, I naturally was just drawn to it, and that's why I went to buying it. Now, I want to just quickly go through the features that are built into this mixer amplifier, and the unit I have actually has a couple add-ons that aren't present, mainly the VU meter and that built-in compressor. You won't always see this exact mixer amplifiers with those two features, and to me, those are great features to have. Alright, so to begin with, this is a 5 microphone mixer. You could see the 5 volume controls on the bottom of here. Each input has a speech/music switch, and I have a very good feeling that when you put it on the speech setting, that it's just going to have a high pass filter, kind of filter out the low frequencies that aren't really needed for speech PA settings. Then all the way on the right, you have a master volume knob, and that has a bright and normal switch, pretty self-explanatory. On the top left, you have a treble and bass control. Then next to that, you have a VU meter control that just changes the 0 point of your VU meter. In the middle there, you obviously have the VU meter, very nice display there, really like how it looks. To the right of that, you have the compressor controls, and you could see you could turn it off, and then you could set at what point the compressor is going to kick in. Then finally, to the right of that, you have the monitor volume knob that controls the output going to the monitor jack at the bottom here. And then finally, you have the power switch to turn it on and off. Now let's take a look at the back. Alright, so looking at the back, the first thing, we have the 5 inputs for the microphones. We also have recorder outputs numbered 1 and 2. The first one does not get affected by the tone controls and the master volume control, so it is strictly just going to give you the signal from your microphone inputs, and then the 2 output is going to be affected by your tone controls, your master volume, and your compression. To the left of that, you have this DC power accessory input jack where you can operate this unit using a regular car battery at 12 volts. You see the power transformer to the left here. You see the output transformer right next to that. Above that, you have these really big capacitor cans. And then on the bottom here, you have the output connections to connect to a speaker or of some sort. You have a speaker plug here, and then finally, you just have a regular 120 volt output connection. Something really interesting that I haven't seen on any other type of unit like this is these little transistor cans for each of the inputs of the microphones. You can see one here. And the reason for this is so you can easily interchange different options that Altec provided. The one I'm holding in my hand is specifically designed to provide shielding from the input transformer, while the other ones that are in the microphone slots are just the standard microphone preamplifier that comes with the unit. You could also get one that is for a phono system for a turntable, and there's also a line transformer option. And while I was haggling with the guy, of course he assured me multiple times that, Mario, there is nothing wrong with this unit, works perfectly as is, you won't have to do a thing to it. Now, we all have a brain and know that that's not going to be true, but I went into that knowing that, so let's just plug it in and see what we get. So my initial reactions when plugging it in for the first time is that there's some clicking going on inside, which I assume is a relay of some sort. And the VU meter is just, getting pinned on and off whenever this clicking is happening. So, I need to further investigate and see what's going on. So at first glance, opening this thing up, you could tell it's a pretty simple unit, not really much going on. It seems unmolested. Everything in here, to my eyes, looks completely original, which is a great sign because there wasn't some jabroni just hacking it to bits sometime in the past. Okay, so now I'm just trying to find the source of that clicking. Like I said, I assumed it was a relay, but upon further inspection, I realized it is actually a fuse that is clicking on and off. I have never seen a fuse like this in any audio electronics, and I'm starting to wonder why it's not seen more, because the design is actually pretty ingenious. Let's zoom in here to see a better view of how this works. So there's simply just two metal contacts that in a normal state are touching one another, which allows current to flow through them. When the amperage gets too high, the metal heats up and causes it to expand, thus breaking the contact from one another. Once the contact is broken, there's not going to be any current flowing through the electronics, therefore not damaging anything inside. Now, in a condition where excessive amperage is being pulled, you're going to get a condition in which we're seeing where it's just clicking on and off as the metal is going through a heating and cooling down cycle. The reason I like this is because you're not going to be going through fuse after fuse if you're trying to service something and pinpoint where exactly the issue is. The next thing I'm going to do is plug in my unit to this soldering station I have, and the reason I'm doing that is because I'm able to control the amount of voltage going into the unit with this soldering station, and I'm going to start at 0 volts and slowly work my way up and to see just basically if I could get the unit to behave with a reduced voltage. This wound up being not a great idea because I wound up just blowing the fuse within the soldering station almost immediately, so I had to look elsewhere. And that is when I remembered I specifically built a dim bulb tester for these purposes, and you're usually going to use these dim bulb testers for units with really high voltages that have tubes in it. This is a solid state unit that has really low voltages. There's really nothing higher than 24 volts in this whole unit, so I wasn't really sure what to expect. Regardless, I plugged it in and turned it on, and this did solve the issue of the fuse clicking on and off, but the voltage was way too low for anything to function properly in this unit, and I was still getting no signal on the VU meter when I plugged in a microphone. Then I remembered I probably should have sprayed everything with contact cleaner. This should always be your first step when you're servicing audio electronics. You'd be amazed how often this fixes issues a lot of the times. Now, of course, it did not fix the issue at hand here, so I kept on with my troubleshooting. And the next thing I wanted to do was I just wanted to see what would happen if I bypassed this fuse breaker system that is built into this unit. Like I said, I've never seen one of these before in audio electronics, and I just wanted to put another regular bulb type fuse in parallel with this fuse, and I just wanted to see what happened. I immediately blow the bulb type fuse. Right about this time is when I look online to see if I could find a schematic for whatever unit I'm working on, and luckily someone posted the schematic to this unit on Gearspace. So once I found that, I started to test some voltages at some key points just to see if anything was really out of whack, and everything kind of seemed to be where it needed to be. The next thing I wanted to do was just start isolating main components of this unit and seeing if I remove them, if that fixes the issue, and see if I could just kind of pinpoint where the issue lies. So the first thing was to take out this card here, which was a really simple thing to do. This did not fix the issue. The next thing I did was move the power transistors, and lo and behold, this fixed the issue. When I unplugged the power transistors, I was no longer having excessive amperage, and the unit started to function properly. And when I plugged a microphone in, I was actually getting a signal on the VU meter. This was a really good sign. Now, normally, this type of unit is meant to be used on a PA system, but in my case, in my studio, that's not what I was going to be using it for, and these power transistors actually aren't necessary in order for you to hook up this unit to a mixer or a recorder of any sort. So I simply just am using the number 2 output on the back of the unit and plugging it straight into my mixing console, and I was getting a usable signal. And since I wasn't hooking this up to any speaker system, I didn't have to worry about the power transistors, so I'm not even going to bother replacing them. I'm likely never ever going to use this unit for any PA system. I have other units that can be used for that, so I'm just going to call it quits and say this unit is good to go. I'm going to give it the old rub-a-dub scrub with some Windex all over the unit, clean up some of the tape residue, get rid of the stickers, and really make this puppy shine. And once that was done, I wanted to do a quick little demo to see how this thing sounded in action, and really I wanted to see how the compressor sounded. So let's listen to this little demo here. Warning you now, these are all first takes. It's a little rough. Just deal with it. I don't get paid enough for this shit. That didn't sound too shabby. I'm actually pretty surprised how much I like the drum sound just with that one front of the kick microphone. So let me just do a couple isolated tests here, cycling from using the compression on the mixer to not using the compressor, and just see if we could see any sort of difference. The effect of the compression on this mixer is actually more subtle than I was expecting. There's definitely some level control that's really obvious if you're looking at the VU meter, but when I wasn't using the compression and the signal was being sent really hot to my mixer, I was getting some saturation from my mixer, and, you know, it was kind of adding its own little compression in that sense. So I don't know. Either way, I think it sounded pretty damn good for just one microphone right in front of my kit, and I might be using this in the future. Alrighty, I'm going to end this video right here. You should probably unsubscribe, and don't comment, and don't like this video. See you guys next time.
I'll never forget my old dad. When these things would happen to him, the things he'd say to me.
What did he say?
What the hell are you doing in the bathroom day and night? Why don't you get out of there? Give someone else a chance.